You know, the older I get, the more I realize how many people out there won't watch a single movie older than themselves. That's a tragedy considering most movies nowadays are trash. But that's why I'm here, so let's rectify these crimes against God and good taste for your sake and our children's sake. Because today, the Movie Howze is here to retro-recommend. A little over 30 years ago, Jurassic Park came out and transformed me into the movie-obsessed freak I am still to this day. I was 4 at the time, and even back then, I liked movies. Star Wars, Disney, Batman, but this particular film ignited my imagination. It made me want to know everything about how movies achieved their brand of magic. It made me want to learn about the artists and creators behind the scenes. It made me pay attention to the power of film scores. It made me realize that my hero wasn't an athlete like other kids, but rather the director responsible for making me fall head over heels in love with an art form. Steven Spielberg. Part of me wants to assume that I shouldn't have to recap the plot, but then I remember it's not commonplace for newer generations to watch anything older than themselves. I don't want to go off on a rant here, but how am I supposed to respond when some little shit tells me he's never seen a movie because it's older than him? I could ramble on about how there's been good movies released every year for the last 100 years, and they're still worth watching today, how Jurassic Park is one of the most important milestones in film history, one of those movies that changed the entire industry, and it shouldn't be written off because it's old. Get bent! But then I center myself and acknowledge that something like this cuts to the very reason why I do these reviews, to introduce my friends, family, and you fine people to movies I feel that are worth your time. And Jurassic Park on a good day looks better than some contemporary movies. Okay, so the basic plot concerns the eccentric Walt Disney-esque billionaire, John Hammond, harnessing genetic power to bring dinosaurs back to life via the miracle of cloning, for the purpose of the most advanced amusement park the world has ever known. The project's investors have, let's say, safety concerns, so Hammond invites paleontologist Alan Grant, paleobotanist Ellie Sattler, and abrasive chaotician Ian Malcolm in hopes of gaining their endorsement so that the park may open for public attendance. Along for the ride is a blood-sucking lawyer and Hammond's own grandchildren, but as Malcolm predicts, the park is trying to attain a level of control that is not possible and is destined for failure. And when a conniving computer programmer sabotages Jurassic Park's security systems in hopes of stealing dino DNA to sell to a rival company for big bucks, all the attractions get loose and the fun begins. Loosely based on Michael Crichton's novel with a script co-written by himself and David Koepp, the film keeps the core ideas and characters of the book but changes the tone considerably, foregoing the dark and violent source material and instead opting for something a tad lighter, optimistic, and grandiose, even if people get eaten. It's another one of those adaptations that is great because it is so different from the book. I've always had a really good memory, and I still vividly recall the summer of '93. My dad took me first to see it when he was still in the picture, and after that first watch, you couldn't shut me up about this movie. Not that it could be avoided, the promotional push on this fucker was massive. Toys, video games, McDonald's collector's cups for those sad souls that actually collect collectible cups. And there used to be a dollar theater in the town next over, and my grandmother fed into my fandom and took me to see the movie again and again and again. Now remember, this was at a time when movies didn't come to home video or streaming 45 days after release. JP stayed in theaters for over a year because it was a reliable moneymaker. It was the highest grossing movie of all time back then. So when it was just about to be released on good old reliable VHS, it was still in theaters, and I asked to see it again on the big screen one last time. To which my mom was like, "Son, I already pre-bought the videotape. It's waiting for us at Warehouse Music. It's just gonna take 3 days. Can you wait till Tuesday?" But nope. Nana took me one last time to see it. So between June of 1993 and October of 1994, I saw it pretty regularly. While I'm certain, and hope, I didn't see it at that dollar theater every weekend, I saw it with some frequency, to put it mildly. And it's easy to see why. Dinosaurs have always captured the imaginations of young minds. They're our first lore, essentially, our first big words. The first thing we realized that was bigger than our parents. And there wasn't a better time to be a fossil freak, so to speak, than the 1990s. Everyone in the industry knew this was going to be a hit. So when dinosaurs became super popular again, a whole bunch of derivative works were ready to ride off the wave. Schlock B-movie auteur Roger Corman got ahead of the hype with his own ultra-violent ripoff, Carnosaur, released 3 weeks before Jurassic Park, starring JP actress Laura Dern's real-life mom, Diane Ladd, playing a mad scientist who makes a virus that makes women die giving birth to dinosaur eggs that hatch to kill hippies. That's the actual plot.
Greetings, Green Brother.
All the while having the unmitigated gall to take pot shots at the superior movie.
That's really fabulous. Like a great theme park.
Man, did my parents regret renting that for me at such a young age. They were much happier with the likes of Charles Band's kid-friendly Prehysteria series about preserved dinosaur eggs that hatch little pygmy dinos that are all named after famous musicians, because the only appropriate pet name for a Tyrannosaurus Rex is Elvis. Then The Land Before Time lost any of its credibility it had left and started a non-stop assault of direct-to-video sequels, ending with a grand total of 14 movies. Then there was the likes of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Dude, Spielberg himself even referenced his own movie success with another dinosaur movie he produced, The Schizophrenic Nightmare Fuel, We're Back, a dinosaur story. So okay, dinosaurs were big business, and this single movie was to blame. But what was missing from those also-rans is that on top of being really entertaining blockbusters, the Jurassic series introduced a lot of modern theories about dinosaurs to its audience. And yes, while not everything was 100% accurate, much of it was scientifically backed up by paleontological consultant Jack Horner. Each film in the original trilogy introduced the newest theories about them, such as birds being the evolutionary descendants of dinosaurs rather than reptiles, or the intelligence of the raptor genus. How many children grew up to be scientists or paleontologists because of this movie? And while I've in fact quite enjoyed the Jurassic World trilogy, for the most part, outside of the welcome additions of things like the aquatic mosasaur, the sequel trilogy were more concerned with being monster movies, with man-made abominations wearing the skin suits of dinosaurs instead of being about actual dinosaurs. And that narrative focus had an effect on the actual filmmaking, too. There's a reason why the most genuinely emotional moment in the first Jurassic World is the Dinopatosaur scene, because it's the only dinosaur actually there for the actors to respond to. Because that's the secret of the original movie, and to a lesser extent the second and third. The thing that sent me over the edge into full-on movie loserdom. How they brought the dinosaurs to life. Originally, they planned on doing things the old-fashioned way, with stop-motion dinosaurs courtesy of the then master of the medium, Phil Tippett. But once Dennis Muren and his wizards at Industrial Light and Magic showed that they could create computer-generated beasties that were utterly convincing, plans changed. And even though Tippett was essentially out of the job, he still proved vital to the computer animators, as the tools he used in stop motion were adapted to help bring the digital dinosaurs to realization. Hence why he is still jokingly credited as dinosaur supervisor in the film. Because while the original Jurassic Park is heralded as the dawn of digital effects, there's shockingly only 14 minutes of dino action in this flick, and only around 6 of those minutes were digital effects. And while those moments, even to this day, are still surprisingly impressive, the key for the filmmakers was knowing where to use each special effects discipline for maximum effect. If it was a shot that was full body or needed to convey speed, it was digital. But if they needed to get close to the actors to show scale and detail, then they used one of Stan Winston's remarkable puppets. Throughout the 80s and 90s, Stan Winston Studios were responsible for some of the most amazing animatronic characters ever brought to screen, with Jurassic Park being their high watermark. Based on the gorgeous designs by the immensely talented Crash McCurry, the dino puppets are so full of life and character. These were living, breathing dinosaurs. I wasn't scared at the time when I first watched it, which I know seems weird since I was 4 and it actually is quite scary, but I was mesmerized. For me, it was more about how I couldn't fathom that it was possible for people to make puppets that realistic. I needed to know how they did it. So that's how I became obsessed with the nitty-gritty of movie making. For some kids, they knew everything about their favorite sports team. For me, I knew the wizards behind the silver screen making the magic happen. Like this book right here, my mom continuously rented from the local library for me because I was utterly fascinated by the behind-the-scenes photos and the storyboards, giving me a peek behind the curtain. We rented it so much that the library just ended up letting us buy it. Because filmmaking is very much like a magic show. We know what we're watching isn't real, but if you can trick us for even a moment, that is power. It's a power that makes Steven Spielberg such an effective director. Sure, he makes brilliant blockbuster entertainment that perfectly balances horror and action, but also wields a nearly effortless ability to convey wonder. You're awed by what you're seeing because his film's protagonists are as well. It's a form of audience manipulation that he is a master at, and I think Jurassic Park is his masterpiece in that regard. Because our main characters love and respect dinosaurs and never imagine seeing these animals living and breathing, the wonder and terror on their faces feel completely genuine. Mainly because it was. When Laura Dern's Ellie Sattler is brought to tears seeing a sick Triceratops, it's not really acting. It's the same with the look of pure terror on Lex's face when the Rex comes eye to eye with her. It's a testament to why this holds up better than any of its sequels. And not just to talk about special effects and directorial prowess, the cast here too is fantastic, really selling the believability. And they aren't movie stars. They aren't big name draws. They're mainly talented character actors. Sam Neill and Laura Dern are great because they don't look like typical leads, with Neill in particular being a prime example of how to positively portray masculinity. Of a man who thinks he doesn't even like kids, but whose parental instincts kick in and makes him go full dad mode.
He loves us! He loves us!
But that's not what I'm gonna do.
Then there's Jeff Goldblum. Playing Jeff Goldblum, dialed up to 11. His direct feedback on the script turned a frankly insufferable character in the book into one that for the film is layered, charming, obnoxiously intelligent, and sleazy all at once.
Ian?
Remind me to thank John for a lovely weekend.
Also, kudos on Spielberg's part for thinking the only person that could play John Hammond is fellow filmmaker Sir Richard Attenborough, portraying the character very different from the book, where there he's a greedy prick, and instead here he's an overly ambitious Santa-like figure whose downfall isn't greed, but rather trying to play God for the sake of entertainment. Then you have the likes of Samuel L. Jackson, Wayne Knight, Bob Peck, and B.D. Wong filling out side characters that are still rather memorable. Hell, even the kid actors Ariana Richards and Joseph Mazzello are good here, which is saying something considering that a kid in a movie many times can be a cinematic death sentence. But nah, man, they're both really convincing and rarely annoying. Special note needs to be made for John Williams' musical score as well. As I've said in the past, I'm a crier, and the thing that almost always triggers me is music, and this moment right here never fails to get me to well up due to his contributions, sonically conveying the beauty and grandeur of what we're seeing. The movies he's scored, Jaws, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Superman, Indiana Jones, and countless others, would be half of what they are if it wasn't for him. Now, just because I adore this movie, doesn't mean I don't see its flaws. Shit, when you've watched a movie as many times as I've seen this one, you'd notice some idiosyncrasies as well. Something Spielberg's notorious for, and I love him for this, but he's a filmmaker more concerned with what feels emotionally right for a story rather than what is logically so. Like how the T-Rex's heavy, earth-shaking stomps telegraph her imminent arrival every time. Except for the very end, where she pops in like a ninja at the visitor center to inadvertently save our heroes from the raptors and also create one of the most inspired shots in film history. Another funny gaffe is at the T-Rex paddock. So at first we see that the brush is level with the fences in the main road, with the goat and eventually the Rex herself. So why all of a sudden, when she starts pushing it over the railing, there's like a 50-foot drop? Okay, it's exciting and works for narrative escalation, because it feels right, even if it doesn't make any goddamn sense. There's also a precedent here that got worse with subsequent installments. Lex in the book is the younger sibling, with Tim being older, a dino junkie, and also conveniently a computer hacker. For the film, they made the change that Tim is younger and still the dino head, while Lex is older and into computers. So she has something to do. And you know you have an extraneous character when you have to make up shit for them to do. But even with that, none of this in any way lessens my love for this movie. Just on basic movie terms, this is the very definition of a blockbuster, with Spielberg at the top of his game, staging multiple incredible action set pieces filled with tension, variety, and originality. And even today, it hasn't lost a step. Jurassic Park was my Rosetta Stone. This single movie established my passion. This may not be the quote-unquote best movie I've ever seen, but it's my favorite. So without a doubt, Jurassic Park is full-on top-shelf cinema. But that's enough for me. I'd like to hear what y'all thought. Like, comment, or subscribe if you feel so inclined. But more importantly, until next time, stay safe out there.